Guys, he's like gonna jump on in like 1 minute.
I know, he's almost here. I have the participant window open and I get to allow him to enter?
It's weird, I'm gonna be smiling because I'm just excited to see him.
Some nervous energy.
He's a busy man. He's doing lots of world saving.
We were 45 minutes early.
Okay, ready? He's here, I'm admitting him right now. Here we go.
Hey, hi guys, how you doing?
Hi, Dr. Fauci.
So that's what happens when you have dangerously low testosterone levels. Who'd have thought? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. Lots of crazy and insane news to get into today, especially with the apparatuses of the state putting the hammer down on, of course, many very important civil liberties, which we're going to be talking about in this video, as well as some very troubling developments as reported by Forbes that are absolutely perplexing and contradictory of the official story of what we're being told right now by, of course, the medical professionals like Dr. Fauci, who, by the way, is having a whole series of children's books being made about him. You know, because propaganda always works best on the youngest amongst us who are unsuspecting of course, the propaganda. And, of course, no surprise here, Brian Stetler decided to make it one of his feature stories on his broadcast. Guys, seriously, on a personal note, just get your T levels checked. And I do have to say, it's kind of weird to see this adoration for a man that has flip-flop, lied to the American public, and was also the man behind financing extremely risky gain-of-function studies at the Level 3 Wuhan laboratory in China. That even U.S. diplomatic cables read that they were extremely dangerous with very lax security protocols that could lead to impending danger not so long before everything started in Wuhan, China. Now, do I claim to know exactly what happened? Absolutely not, but should these questions be asked towards individuals like Dr. Fauci? Absolutely. And they're not. There's just absolute adoration, very little critical thinking, and very little important conversations on things like vitamin D, which, again, I've been talking about for months on end here on this independent media channel. Dr. Fauci just mentioned it once on September of last year, and only specifically when he was asked about it. Meanwhile, there's a lot of very intriguing data surrounding vitamin D and also obesity, which according to many studies and reports is a major contributing factor to the vast majority of pain and suffering related to this, along of course with vitamin D. But don't worry about that, because the establishment wants you fat and dumb, as of course perfectly exemplified by Krispy Kreme's latest efforts offering up free donuts every day to a person who got a shot. And we wonder why over 61% of Americans just saw an undesired weight change during the lockdowns, and majority of them got more fat and became more unhealthy. It's almost as if the establishment wants to keep you fat and dumb. Gee, I wonder why is that, and why we haven't dealt with two of the biggest issues surrounding it that are pretty easy to deal with. If we really cared about the lives, the cases, the deaths here, we would focus on things like vitamin D, on obesity, unhealthy lifestyles, and we're not. What do we get? Krispy Kreme donuts, and of course more lockdowns, especially the ones happening in Europe right now, where many countries are restricting access for their citizens to leave their country, meanwhile allowing non-citizens to come in. Especially in the United Kingdom, that just announced that they will be giving out £5,000 fines, that's equivalent to almost 7,000 American dollars, for anyone breaching their new decree of a foreign holiday ban. If the government thinks your travel wasn't important, they will literally steal $7,000 from you. That's exactly what they're saying they're going to be doing here, and on face value, that's absolutely ridiculous, since of course rich people who are wanting to travel will continue to travel. This is mainly a deterrence for poor people, trying to keep them more poor. The rich will be able to do whatever they want, as of course thousands of migrants are allowed in to the United Kingdom every week, which absolutely highlights how a lot of these policies are absolutely ridiculous and are meant more for control rather than, of course, safety and health. Again, in my opinion, this is absolutely ridiculous, counterproductive, and is only increasing the hurt and pain that is going around. It's also important to note that Germany is implementing very similar measures, as they are enacting strict shutdowns and lockdowns for what they promised to be only 5 days. Tougher shutdowns, tougher lockdowns between April 1st and April 5th is what the German government is promising. You know, guys, because it was just originally 2 weeks to slow the spread, and let's just say that was absolutely a big freaking lie. Now the German government is saying just 5 more days, while some government officials in the United Kingdom are saying that this could last years. From 2 weeks to a few days to a few more weeks to now years, causing irreversible pain and damage onto the citizenry that will not be easily fixed. As of course, we also have a new report coming out from some medical doctors in North Carolina that are ringing the bells about the severity of the mental health crisis that is being created by these lockdowns. Not by the sickness, but by government. The government is creating a severe mental health crisis in this country. This now even according to medical doctors in North Carolina that are looking at the raw data that is worrying them about what is actually happening to the mental health of the American people because of these very strenuous government lockdowns that are hurting people in many unspeakable ways. And of course, we've been warning about this from the very beginning. What's the government's solution to this? Well, they will continue a lot of these very horrible policies in many states all across the United States, and they will give grandma a furry freaking robot. I am not joking you. Yes, in Michigan, they are launching a pilot program for animated robotic cats and dogs in order to fight the social isolation and pain and suffering created by government lockdowns. Yes, animatronic pets are the government's solution after they created a problem with, of course, the massive social isolation that they are pushing on people. And again, seeing these types of images is absolutely saddening, repugnant, and shows you just absolutely how evil some people could be. Now, especially with some of the perplexing information that we're getting, even from mainline institutions like Forbes, that just reported that there's a spike in cases in states that have the highest rate of people taking the shot. Now, why is this happening? We don't know yet, but I went into detail about this article and many other things I can't say on this platform on LukeUncensored.com in yesterday's sponsored video, which you can exclusively get on LukeUncensored.com. 50 cents a day helps keep independent media alive and well, but also allows me to express and talk about issues, stories, and share information that I cannot share here on this platform. I can, and I can say whatever I want on LukeUncensored.com. Click the link down in the description below to understand the larger context behind articles like this that Forbes is releasing. Another very interesting Forbes article that was released was this one, talking about how 3 people who fully got the shot also got the sickness, according to the Hawaiian Department of Health. That talks about how this shot is not perfect, and talks about how there are some anomalies here that deserved to be talked about and addressed, including cases of how some people are losing their teeth or having insane flatulence because of. Some of the symptoms even range to, quote, unexplained crying 5 times a day. This, of course, is the rushed experimental shot that, of course, is promoted without question by individuals like Dr. Fauci, Mr. Bill Gates, while other people are asking some very serious questions. Now, it's also important to note here, for the sake of YouTube specifically, that there are some medical professionals that are telling you that this shot is safe and effective, and that some of these odd effects are very unlikely to affect you, but again, we still don't know the long-term effects since there haven't been any long-term studies. A lot is still unknown, but that is not stopping some governments, especially in the United Kingdom, that just announced that this shot will be mandatory for its health workers, as a leaked paper outlined their plan for compulsory shots without giving health workers the option to choose what they do with their own personal bodies. That is the proposed law that they're trying to pass in the United Kingdom, which to some people is very troublesome. Now, as you know, personally, I do believe that there should be more skepticism of government rather than just blatantly trusting them, especially with their track record on very important issues, as exemplified in modern-day context on the U.S. border, and also the emerging rise of the police state that we're seeing more and more become more powerful while also becoming unaccountable, as perfectly exemplified in this latest story by The Intercept that described in detail how a 24-year-old who, because she had, quote, anti-law enforcement rhetoric on her car window, was responded to by Texas deputies and police officers that decided to deploy SWAT, robots, and a small army of cops to arrest her and her dog. I am not kidding you. Yes, near Austin, the latest and greatest military technology is being used against individuals for their political slogans in their car windows. And yeah, what did you expect when you're a hammer? Everything starts looking like a nail, and it's very fair to say that there definitely has been a ratcheting up of propaganda to make everyone look like nails, especially with some of the larger propaganda efforts being utilized in the mainstream media that wants to take away more of your civil liberties, of your rights, of your freedoms away from you, all based on fake pretenses that have absolutely no merit. In the United Kingdom, they're even taking measures to make peaceful protesting illegal under, of course, a new draconian crime bill, all under the guise of, quote, security laws. And of course, this grants police officers more unaccountable, broader powers, which would allow them to criminalize protests as they deem, quote, it a public nuisance, allowing the police to set times, noise limits, and other insane rules that essentially, again, would ban the ability for people to peacefully protest if the UK government or police force don't like it. This, of course, also on the heels of major anti-lockdown protests that have been, in my opinion, absolutely underplayed in the American mainstream media, especially with the significance, especially with the large number of people coming out into the streets, not just in the United Kingdom, not just in London, but all over the world, protesting, of course, government lockdowns, which some reports, some medical studies have shown to have adverse effects and are doing very little to nothing to stopping the spread of the sickness. Again, a lot of very important information surrounding obesity, surrounding vitamin D, surrounding people's mental health is being, in my opinion, deliberately being censored and kept away from you, because that information is absolutely crucial and can help us from this larger tragedy that we are entangled in, predominantly because of the wrong actions by government. Again, that's my own personal opinion. If you think I'm wrong in any way, shape, or form, please let me know why in the comment section below. I always try to spur on as much critical thinking and perspectives that you wouldn't normally get from watching the mainstream media. If you thought I did that, like this video and share it with your friends and family members. Obviously, talking about these issues is not a very easy thing to do. No one is perfect. Everyone gets something wrong, and that's why I can't urge people enough to do critical thinking, to do their own research, to do their own homework, and make the right decision for themselves, not based upon any personality. And whether it's Dr. Fauci or me, you should never thirstfully slurp over anyone. You should never put any man above yourself. Do your own homework, do your own research, start critically thinking, because your existence depends on it. So yeah, pretty lighthearted video to say the least. I'm probably going to be expanding a lot more on this on LukeUncensored.com. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. Love ya.